Dear Ilham Haydarovich, we just recently, briefly really, but still, saw each other in Beijing. We had talked on the phone several times before. I would like to start our meeting with the most sensitive topic, the aviation tragedy that occurred in our skies. And even then, in our first telephone conversation, I not only apologized for the fact that the tragedy occurred in the skies of Russia, but also expressed my most sincere condolences to the families of the victims. I would like to repeat and resume all this and say that, of course, as agreed, we are providing all possible assistance to the investigation. The investigation is coming to an end, and now, in general, we can talk about the causes of this tragedy, this catastrophe. It is related to several circumstances. The second reason is the technical failures of the Russian air defense system itself. And the two missiles that were fired did not directly hit the plane. If that had happened, it would have collapsed on the spot, but exploded, maybe it was self-destruct, a few meters away, somewhere about 10 meters away. And so the defeat occurred, but mainly not by striking combat elements, but most likely by fragments of the missiles themselves. That is why the pilot perceived it as a collision with a flock of birds, which he reported to the Russian air traffic controllers, and all this is recorded in the so-called black boxes. He was also asked, and this is also in the black boxes, it is clearly audible, to land in Makhachkala. But he decided to return to his home airport and then to Kazakhstan. Nevertheless, the fact remains. I have now explained to you the reasons for the tragedy. All this is in the documents after a thorough analysis of the technical characteristics of what was happening and reconciliation of the results of the so-called black box right in seconds. We also discuss this topic later. Of course, everything that is required in such cases, in such tragic cases, will be done by the Russian side on compensation, and a legal assessment will be given to the actions of all officials. Of course, these words related to this tragedy, aimed at morally supporting families in such cases, do not solve the main problem, not to bring back to life people who died as a result of the tragedy. But our duty, I repeat once again, and we have agreed on this from the very beginning, is to give an objective assessment of everything that happened and identify the true causes. But it takes some time. It will probably take some more time to finally put an end to it. But in general, I have basically outlined to you what I was introduced to literally on the eve of our meeting, yesterday and the day before yesterday. To be honest, I even called Moscow last night and asked if there were any additional details. I've told you almost everything I know. This is the first part. Secondly, I would like to note that, despite this, our interests and mutual interests in many areas coincide and are very close. And first of all, of course, it concerns trade and economic relations. Despite all the nuances related to this tragedy, which I have just mentioned, and some things that have arisen in connection with it, despite this, trade and economic relations have been developing and are developing successfully. Last year, we added about 6%, and this year, we have already increased our trade turnover by more than 16%. This is a very good indicator. Thanks to your attention to this topic, our humanitarian relations have always been at a high level. But we'll talk about it now. And we are, A, grateful to you for this, and B, of course, for our part, we will do everything to ensure that this dynamic persists. And of course, the situation in the region, the situation in general on international platforms, our foreign ministries have always worked very closely with each other. I hope that this cooperation will not just be restored, but will continue in the spirit of our relations, in the spirit of our alliance. We never forget about this. We remember the agreement that was signed not so long ago, and for our part, we will do everything to implement all its main provisions. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vladimir Vladimirovich. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the meeting. As you noted, we had a short conversation in Beijing, and just 2 days ago I called you in connection with your birthday. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you once again and wish you, your loved ones, and the friendly people of Russia all the best. And of course, special thanks for this detailed information in connection with the tragedy of December last year when an Azerbaijani Airlines plane crashed. We were in contact with you right away. As you may remember, on that tragic day, I was on my way to a meeting in St. Petersburg, and right from the plane, when I was informed about this, I called you and we expressed our condolences to each other. I also asked you to convey to our colleagues who also participated in this event that for objective reasons I will not be able to participate in the informal CIS summit. I would also like to thank you for personally keeping this situation under control. And as we have repeatedly exchanged opinions with you, as well as members of our teams are constantly in contact, you personally controlled the course of the investigation, and we had no doubt that it would objectively sort everything out. Therefore, I would like to express my gratitude once again that you considered it necessary to highlight this issue at our meeting. And as you noted, not only trade and economic relations, but also in all other areas have been developing successfully this year. As you have noted, there is a good dynamic in the development of trade turnover. There was also no slowdown or pullback anywhere in all other areas. On the contrary, the roadmaps that we have approved are being successfully implemented. The Russian-Azerbaijani Intergovernmental Commission was also held relatively recently, where the co-chairs discussed in detail a wide range of issues, not only trade and economic. And of course, today is a good opportunity to go over the agenda again. It is quite extensive and positive. So thank you once again for this information, and I am sure that the messages that we are sending to our societies today will also be positively received.